Okay, so hello everybody. It's wonderful to see so many people from all over the world, and makes me so excited because the whole purpose of the work that we're doing is really to try and build a lab that thinks globally, as opposed to just the US, which unfortunately is where a lot of the work around misinformation is happening. So welcome. I'm so happy to see so many of you here. I know some of you, I don't know all of you. My name is Claire Wardle and I'm a co-director of the lab. And on the next slide, I'm going to show you that another co-director, Stephanie Friedhoff, is actually on vacation at the moment, so she can't join us, but we are co-directors, and Samantha, who you've heard from, is our associate director and all-round wizard and has really driven this process, and you're going to hear a lot from her during the next hour. We are a team that the majority of us are based in the US. We have a team of 3 who are based in Australia, and our hope is to continue to be much more global as we expand. So the idea also of having international fellows is a big part of our DVS plan. And so we also have 3, we call them magical people. They are amazing. Their faces were not on that image because they're not just members of the lab. They are amazing people who do work for the School of Public Health, Ruth, Ariel, and Tanya. And if you do apply, you will probably receive emails from them, and they are very much part of the team when it comes to this fellowship program. So over the next hour, we are going to introduce the Information Futures Lab. We launched about a month ago. Some of you know, a number of us, we worked in an organization called First Draft, and we helped lots of other organizations think about the challenges of misinformation. That is the foundation for the work we're now doing at Brown University. So we're going to start off by talking about the lab, and then we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the fellowship program, what we're hoping to achieve with it. And then we're going to do some of those logistics about application requirements and timeline. And then if anybody has any questions, and if you have a question, probably somebody else has the same one, but if you're brave enough to answer it, somebody else will be like, oh, thank goodness, I was going to ask that. So that's the purpose of this hour. We have a little bit longer schedule, but we think we'll wrap this up in an hour, particularly for people in India and the Philippines, who it's very much bedtime. So in terms of the Information Futures Lab, I think the name kind of gives it away, but after probably 7 years of doing a lot of work, trying to get people to understand that there was a problem with misinformation, we feel like that work has been done. And the purpose of the lab is really try to create a space where we bring research and practice together to try and think about what kind of interventions work, what could be scaled, how do we ensure that we evaluate what we're doing to make sure that we understand what works. Something that's working in Rhode Island, does it work in Sao Paulo? Does it work in Geneva? Does it work in Manila? So a big part of what we're trying to do is get a sense of what might work, and then to say, how do we evaluate that and scale it? But it will not surprise any of you that know us that many of us who work in the lab are very much rooted in practice. So whether that's the practice of journalism, whether that's the practice of being a public health professional, whether that's somebody who is leading or working in a community-based organization, there is incredible work happening from practitioners trying desperately every day to mitigate the effects and harms of information in many different ways, but not always do they have the resources or the support to properly understand whether or not what they're doing is something that could work elsewhere. Similarly, there's great research happening, but it's not always research that is informed by what's happening on the front line. So we have lots of journal articles written, but we don't necessarily have research that practitioners read and go, that helps me word my headline differently. That helps me write my newsletter differently. We're very much trying to be the space where research and practice meet, but with a slight bias to really trying to put practitioners at the center of everything we're doing. And fundamentally, the reason that we came to Brown is, I don't know if there's any Brown alum on the call, but Brown really prides itself of being multidisciplinary. And that is true even from the short time we've been here. We will be trying to work very much across campus with people who are working in computer science, people who are working in policy, people who are working in democratic erosion, political science, people who are working in climate. So one of the reasons we're here is to really try and emphasize that there is incredible work happening around the harms of information, but it's sometimes a little bit siloed based on the disciplines and the journals that go along with those disciplines. Next slide, please. So our practice focus really has these key questions, as I've said, which is what existing interventions work and how could they be improved? So for example, labels that we see on platforms. If you talk to the platforms and they're being honest with you, they will tell you that they're not actually collecting data to see whether or not those labels are being effective. The label itself allows them to talk about that in transparency reports, but we don't actually know of all the different types of labels, how effectively they slow down the spread of misinformation. Do they change beliefs? Do the design of the Twitter label work as effectively as a YouTube label, et cetera, et cetera. So even just on existing interventions, there's a lot that we don't actually know. Then we're obviously interested in which work in a way that are universal, or how many of these interventions actually only work when you have that local and cultural context. And everybody wants that single scalable intervention. I don't think we're going to get many of them, but it would be nice, for example, to potentially even get a small training curriculum that actually seems to really move the needle in many different contexts. So there's some of the questions that we're thinking about. I'm just going to say I'm really excited about this. To me, having a fellowship program that actually allows people to come and spend real time, I think could be a game changer. I used to be the research director at the Tao Center for Digital Journalism in Columbia, and we had a number of fellows and they were all wonderful, but they were all doing it on top of their full-time jobs. And it was really hard for people to dedicate the time that was necessary. So we've designed this program in the hope that people will be able to spend quality time on a project. We're thinking at a semester length time, and at the end of that, we'll have something that either we can build on, or it really has done something or created the foundation for something that will make a difference. So to us, this is our kind of flagship program out of the lab, and we're really hoping to get fellows that can create output that really is a game changer. And I'm not going to deny that. I'm not interested in anybody writing a report that is a PDF that nobody downloads. It really has to be something that fundamentally other practitioners find useful. Really enjoy that dog. I added that just now to show how excited I was. Sorry, Samantha, the next slide, I'm waffling. So I'm actually going to hand over to Samantha now to talk about some of the nitty gritty, but I hope that you can see with this that whilst the logistics count, what we're really hoping to help you with today through Q&A, but also we've set up slots where you can come and talk to me or any member of the team if you're like, maybe this is crazy, but this is something I'm thinking about. So we can really help you hone your ideas, because we really want fellows that not only you're excited, but we're really excited about what can come from this. So I'm going to hand over to Samantha Stanley, and she's going to talk about some of the specifics of how you can get from being on this webinar to hopefully becoming a fellow.
Yeah, thanks, Claire. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what projects might look like. So Claire did an excellent job describing our goal of basically supporting practitioners in their efforts to bring solutions into communities, right? So there's 3 different ways that we are hoping to do that. So one way is that you might have a totally new program that you are excited to try, and you just need some bandwidth to do it. So there's a couple of examples here. We just kind of like made these up off the top of our head, but that's one approach. A second approach might be there's an existing program that you're aware of or that you're involved with in some way, and you want to try and make it better or create a more specific approach for a specific part of that community, et cetera. And then the third type of project would be the evaluation of an existing approach. And again, that's a program that already exists, but perhaps we don't know how effective it is, or the evaluation could benefit from a different set of questions or something like that. Regardless of which of these approaches you choose to pursue, we do want to make sure that the approach is informed by evidence and research. And we'll talk in a minute about some partnerships that you might consider to help you do that. But all of the projects should be informed by the amazing research that's coming out of many different disciplines right now when it comes to information issues. We also recognize that this is a 6-month program, and so we're asking for a lot in a short period of time. And frankly, the crisis of information that we're in right now warrants that speed. And so we're not looking for something that's fully fledged, that's done, in several communities around the world, all in 6 months. We're looking for a pilot or a proof of concept that is practically achievable within that 6-month time frame. And then we also want to make sure that whatever it is that you're building, it can be evaluated. That goes without saying. We're all, at least attached to some sort of research community. Evaluation is really helpful in making sure that what we're doing is working, or that we're pivoting in the right ways to make sure that it works going forward. So also, as Claire said, there are so many different disciplines and areas of practice that information touches, and even healthcare information touches, right? And so we're not limiting this fellowship to any one area of practice. And these are just some of the examples of the communities that you might work in. So whether it's communicating about public health, whether you're a journalist, whether you're involved in some sort of community nonprofit or community outreach program, maybe you're working for a platform or you design backend databases. We're really not limiting this to any one particular area of practice. So there are some things that fellows will experience and produce during the length of their fellowship program. So this is a program that is remote. So we're not asking anyone to join us physically in Providence for the entire 6 months. We're a remote team at the IFL. Actually, none of us at the IFL live in Providence right now. So we're all remote. We meet together once a day, but fellows will be coming to Providence twice for gatherings at Brown. And we'll talk about support for that in a few minutes. But on a regular basis, fellows will be sharing work and reflections on their work on a regular basis. We'll be meeting at least once a week together as a group. We'll be meeting together with the rest of the IFL team on a regular basis to learn from each other. But as part of the fellowship program, we're hoping that fellows will contribute to some of the regular publications that we have through our newsletter and on our website, create tools for replicating and scaling whatever it is that you're doing, even in little chunks throughout your program. And that might also include sharing with a broader research community. And again, this isn't a research-focused fellowship, but there are definitely elements that the academic community can learn from. And of course, at the end, we're gonna hope that you are going to report back all of the amazing things that you've done in a couple of different ways. So we've established this TED-style presentation program called IFL Stand Up, and that will be during the second visit at Brown, and it will be open to the entire Brown community. So you can, network, get to know others in different disciplines, and show off the amazing work that you've done over the last 6 months. And then, of course, a project report. We're also thinking about making that a creative deliverable. So perhaps there's a website or, a video that you want to put together instead of a report. Don't quote me on that, but we're talking about it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the types of support that fellows will receive. So like I mentioned, this is meant to be a community. Each of you are working in very different fields, and you're all at different levels of engagement in the communities that you're working with. And we want to learn from you just as much as you learn from the IFL team. As Claire mentions, the IFL team primarily came from First Draft, and they are fantastic wizards of information. They know how to do things that I can't even wrap my head around at this point. And so we want to share that knowledge with you and also take from you just as many goodies. So we'll be connecting weekly to kind of have this knowledge exchange. There will be plenty of opportunities to network with scholars from other universities, from practitioners in other organizations, just different ways to get to know what everyone else is doing and push your ideas forward in different ways. And of course, fellows will be actually part of the Brown system, and you'd have access to the libraries, any resources that is available to me as an employee would be available to you as well. So financial support is obviously very important for programs like this. So we are offering a salary of $35,000 for the fellow. Again, we're hoping that fellows are able to really dedicate full-time attention to this project over 6 months. Again, this is, a very short time to do very amazing things. And so we feel that it warrants full-time attention. So if your employer is not cool with paying you for that 6 months, we have a $35,000 stipend or salary that we can provide to fellows who need it. That being said, if your employer is like, great, this is going to be really helpful, go ahead and do it and we'll continue to pay you, or, we just need a course buyout or whatever the case may be. If you're already getting funding, forfeiting that $35,000 will allow us to add another person to the program. And so that's that. That will be a question on the application when that's made available. We also are going to provide up to $10,000 for your project. This kind of work is not free, and you'll inevitably need tools and resources. Many of them we can provide through Brown software systems, assistance from our fantastic RAs, things like that. But on top of that, if there's any project expenses, we can cover up to $10,000. We also, I didn't mention this already, but we're hoping that you are, again, going to be working within a community or working with a thought partner who can, help expose you to the latest research or help you think of things from a different discipline or through a different lens. We also want to recognize that that partnership is going to cost that person or that organization something. So in an effort to be equitable, we can support them with up to $5,000 for things like if they need to hire an intern to make sure that data is being collected in their organization to support your program, or if they need a software platform in order to provide you with what you need to do your program, et cetera, we can help with that. And then, of course, since fellows will be visiting Providence twice a year, we can provide travel reimbursement. If you're located in the US, that is up to $2,000. And if you're international, that's up to $5,000. Of course, you know, the economy is doing weird things in lots of places, so we might revisit that. But as of now, that's what we're offering. So some key dates to keep in mind, so I'll talk about the application process in just a minute, but chosen fellows for the spring 2023 program will begin to be onboarded in November. In December, we'll have our first kickoff meeting where we all get online together and get to know each other and meet the IFL staff and just sort of touch base before we all go off and have a great holiday break. And then the fellowship really kicks off in January. So just for your own planning, that's when we hope to start the program. The first visit to Brown will also likely be in January toward the later part of the month. And then from February to May will be, you know, remote work, meeting together online on a regular basis and really pushing your project forward. And then in June, we'll come back together again at Brown to finish up and to share your work with the broader community. Okay, so let's talk about who is the ideal fellow. Claire, was this meant to be you or me?
No, you keep going and I'll add if I have any thoughts.
Okay, great. So right. So given that we're looking primarily for practitioners, we're looking for people who really have a depth of knowledge in their area of practice. And so while this isn't a hard and fast rule, we're really looking for people that have at least 5 to 10 years of experience in their field or working in close connection with their field or their field of practice. We're also looking, obviously, for people who are in the position to work on information issues. And again, like we said before, that can be from journalism, from policy, you know, a number of different disciplines, but you should be in the position to actually do this information work. We also are very interested in working with communities that are underrepresented in efforts to improve information. The School of Public Health has a lot of programs already focusing on that kind of work, and we'd like to continue that here whenever possible. That also means we're definitely thinking globally. Like Claire said in the beginning, a lot of this stuff tends to be very US centric, and we want to highlight some different ways that people are approaching this from all over the world and share those resources. And we will prioritize applicants who, again, don't have the resources to do this project otherwise. Again, like Claire said, you know, oftentimes we have these big ideas, but our full-time job keeps us from focusing full-time on projects like this. So if your full-time job is already to do a project like this, great, keep doing it, but this might not be the fellowship for you. So here's more information about thought partners and community partners. So again, we're looking for you to find people, and we can help play matchmaker as well, just to help find people that complement your skill sets and experience. So again, if you're a researcher and you want to work with a community, finding that right community to help make the most of your project is going to be really essential, and vice versa. Working, you know, especially because information is often so tied to behavior and outcomes, it could be really important for you to find an organization that actually is working with people on the ground. Yeah. Okay, so what you're going to need to apply is a current resume or CV. You're going to need 2 letters of recommendation. Ideally, we'd like to have one from your current or recent employer. If you don't want that person to know that you're applying for this, that's totally fine. We'll take 2 from category B. The other one should be from someone that's familiar enough with your work and your passion and your ability to do this kind of meaningful work that they can speak on your behalf. We also are asking you to write just a couple of short answers to 4 questions, and the questions basically help us understand what is the information challenge that you're trying to address. We also want to try and understand what is your idea for approaching that challenge. We'd like to understand better why you're the right person to do this actual project. What can you bring that's unique to the fellowship, and what kind of knowledge do you think that you can share with this greater knowledge exchange community? And then if you do have an idea for a thought partner or a community partner, we'd love to know how you'd work with them and what they might need in order for that project to be successful. And this is all available on our website and will be part of the application as well. Okay, so we're hoping that our application period opens tomorrow. Maybe that will happen, if not, perhaps Monday, but we will send you all an email to let you know when that application period opens. Regardless, we are going to close the application on August 15th. So the application itself is not a huge lift. It's, you know, the answers to those questions are fairly short and we don't require a lot of other information. So that window should be adequate, but we will post the link on our website. I don't know if any of you have used Interfolio to apply for other positions, but it's basically just something you create a login for, you input your information, it'll ask you for the questions that we're looking for and you hit send. So it's a pretty straightforward and fairly painless system. So again, we'll post that link on our website on the fellowship page. We'll share it on social media. So if you follow us there, you'll see it. And again, if you registered for this information session today, we'll send the link to you via email once it's available. So the timeline for application and selection, again, we hope that the application period opens tomorrow. It will close on the 15th. Around September 9th or that week, we'll be informing anyone who applies about their status going forward. So if we haven't selected your project this time around, you'll know at that time. And then if you've been selected as a finalist to go through the interview process, we'll contact you that week to schedule your interview. We have a selection committee of about 5 people, including Claire and Stephanie. So they will be conducting just a short 20-ish minute interview to understand more about your program. We'll probably ask for budget information at that time and a little bit more about your thought partner, or have a discussion about who your thought or community partner would be. And then we should be sending official invitations to the selected fellows around September 30th. If you're invited to be a fellow, you have a month to figure out whether or not you can actually take off that 6 months and then get back to us to let us know. And of course, we're trying to leave a window so that if you decline, we can ask the next fellow, because we expect to have a million fantastic ideas. So that's the timeline. That's it. Oh my goodness, we've already gone through all the information. What questions do you have so far?
So there's some great questions in chat that I've been trying to keep up with. So just if people haven't had a chance to see what they are, well, I just want to let everybody know who cares about libraries, including us, that I've already added it to the slide. So apologies for missing libraries. That is we should not have done that, and I apologize. There's another great question about whether it's a prerequisite to have basically kind of 5 to 10 years of experience. And I said, it's not a prerequisite if you can show in your application that you are well positioned to do this. We just want to make sure that we have applications from people who are in a position to really know this space and to have an impact. And Jedri, you also asked a great question about ownership of anything you produce. And I will be honest that I hope the answer is you all keep ownership of everything. However, your question made me realize I need to double check with legal counsel, because this was a bit of an issue when I was at Columbia University, that if technology gets built, sometimes these universities end up saying, oh, it's owned by us. So we will absolutely make sure that we get the right response and put it on the website. So thank you for that question, because again, we should have seen that one coming. But our hope is that the ownership remains with you. But I need to just double check and make sure that we have a waiver if necessary from the university around that.
Yeah, can I add to that, Claire, and just say that, again, the idea here is that this is a product that you can expand on beyond this program and scale and amplify. And part of what the support that we want to give you is to try and help amplify that as well. So I guess that's sort of connected to that question that we didn't mention.
There's also a question from Adrienne about, is it a requirement to be able to dedicate 100% of the time to the project? Again, it's not a prerequisite, because we know for many people that's just not going to be possible. But in your application, if you can really explain how you'll be able to carve out the time, it might be, for example, that you work in a community-based organization and you say, I simply cannot take 6 months away from work. However, the questions that I'm interested in, I'm hoping will overlap with the work that I'm doing here. And my manager has said that I can definitely carve out 60% of the time. Or the only thing, we are just worried, because I have experience of this, we all think that we have a lot more time than we do. And I would hate somebody to just be trying to do a full-time job and do this really well, and it just not work out, because we don't want to set anybody up to fail. So we're not saying you have to sign a legal document that says you have absolutely stopped doing all other work, but we do want to have a conversation with you in the application process to ensure that you do actually have enough time to do something meaningful. So that's what I would just stress that. Kathy has a question which says, would staff from a fact-checking organization be eligible for the fellowship? Absolutely. So I feel like, as we know, information touches almost all industries, but specifically fact checkers, you have a real depth of knowledge and you would be excellent fellows. Are there any? Oh, Vicky, how many fellowships will be awarded? I know how many I would like. We're currently in fundraising mode, and my hope is that we could, have more. I think realistically, probably 3 to 5, but again, depends on how much money I can raise, depends how many people apply, and if people can apply who are able to cover their salary. So that's the kind of moving target for right now.
There's a question here about getting a recommendation from current employer. And again, if you can't get a recommendation from your current employer for very good reasons, 2 recommendations from that second category of someone from your field who can speak to your work would be perfectly fine.
Great question. Where is your funding from? So just to be clear, it's not from any platforms. At the moment, it's money that's coming from Brown University, but I'm also talking to a number of major philanthropists, the kind of usual people who support this kind of work, from the Ford Foundation, Knight Foundation, and others, to see if they would have an interest in supporting additional fellows. But just it's not government funding, and it's not platform funding, and it's not pharmaceutical company funding. Andreas, you raised your hand. Would you like to share it, or shall I read it?
Yes. Oh no, I could think many are thinking about it when reading the call. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Yeah, good. It's about the themes that you were proposing there. I think it was climate change, and what was it else? Epidemics and pandemics, and there was a third. So how hard does our proposal have to be framed within these themes that you are suggesting? That's my first question. I have another one as well.
Yeah, no, it really doesn't have to be in those themes at all. It was a way to get people thinking. I mean, I think at the moment, lots of people are thinking about COVID misinformation, but we're very passionate about the fact that a lot of the problems in this space, they go across politics, climate, science, health, hate. So in many ways, we're interested in the kind of work that can be applicable in different areas. So we were just trying to provide a prompt to make people think, oh, actually, I come from a climate space and I actually would like to do something around that. So that was why we put those in. So yeah, it's absolutely not a prerequisite at all.
Yeah, and the second question is about the type of visa you would be offering if one would choose to say, I'd like to stay at Brown University for the time of the project duration. Is there any, what kind of visa are you suggesting?
Yeah, so Ruth, tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty convinced it's an F1 visa. So it's the kind of visa that you have for visiting fellows. So lots of universities use the same one, and they tend to be for a limited period of time with, support from a university that can demonstrate that.
And we would assist with securing those.
Right. Interesting. Thank you.
Also, to clarify too about the funding, we are not supporting funds to be at Brown for the entire time. If you'd like to do that, that's perfectly fine. Excuse me, but we don't have specific funds to support your stay. So like, let's say, if you went with that $35,000 salary, that could certainly pay for your stay, but we can't bring families or anything like that. The support doesn't necessarily include specific funds for getting you or keeping you at Brown physically.
Yeah, can I add a question there as well? Because you say it's a salary, so it's not a grant. Because, I mean, will it be a formal salary that you're offering as a US employer or not? Because I guess there is some sort of a difference there. And also, if we are selected outside the US, will it be regarded as a salary in relationship to our tax authorities, or is it a grant? If you see what I mean, is it a stipend or a lump sum that will be paid, or is it will we be on a payroll somewhere?
It would be payroll.
So Brown would be actually our employer for the period.
That is correct.
All right. Okay. Interesting. Yes. Okay. Good. Thank you.
And so, I said an F1, and Ruth has helpfully reminded me in the direct message that it's a B1. So I got my visas mixed up.
B1.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Thank you.
And which apparently is specifically for kind of international scholars. Adrian has also put a great question in here about if something required additional funding, would that be possible? I would say, I'm not going to say no to anything. If you have an amazing idea, Adrian, and you come and talk to us about it, and maybe you've got a little bit of funding from somewhere else, or there's an idea to do that, this is going to be very much a case-by-case basis. So there wouldn't be anything at this point that we're like, no, we just want great work to happen, and we want people to have enough money to get something built. So particularly if it's tech or something that would require a little bit more support, let's have a conversation about that to see how that might work in practice.
One other thing going back to the salary is that we should also be clear that we can't provide benefits. So while you will be an employee of Brown for those 6 months, there are like health benefits and things like that wouldn't apply. So we have 3 hands up, and I believe Fergal was the first.
Hi, yeah, thanks so much for the presentation. Very interesting. I kind of related, I think, to Andreas's question. Like it's a very broad topic, but in terms of the ideas, is it like, do you need to have a solution to an information problem? Do you need to build a product, or could it be just further research into the area, or maybe all of the above? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'll just answer that, Fergal. I mean, I think, again, I don't want to say no to anything, but I think what we're trying to get is a group of fellows who are kind of working on potential solutions, or at least attempts to mitigate misinformation, because I feel like we have a lot of research about the problem, and I'd rather not have people come for 6 months to, it's not that I'm against researching the problem, but it could be that you're really making a case for something new where there's no research into that, and you're trying to do more research about what potentially might help. And so you want to then at the end come up with a hypothesis about what might work, and that there might be a next phase which says, I'd now like to build that. But I think at this stage, for example, I know you, so I know you've been a working journalist. You probably have some hypotheses about things that you think are effective or less effective. And so then the idea might be I would be more interested in trying to test something. So you might see something that's happened in a newsroom and then say, okay, how can we build a kind of experiment to see whether or not that does make a difference? Lots of journalists do it. Does it actually make a difference in the field? So it's more about, when we talk about research, it's more testing something that you're seeing and evaluating whether or not it's moving the needle.
Right. Okay. I think so it could be like a theory that is, you run a survey on a group of people, or you have some sort of output and results, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. But rather than I'm trying to say, I mean, you could do research, for example, with journalists to say, how much of a problem do you think disinformation is? But I think we all know that lots of journalists will say it's a big problem. So I'm more interested in a survey potentially that's about you suggesting some things that you've seen work in the context of your work to see whether it's something that could be scaled. So wherever possible, we're trying to think about that implementation part.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
And something to add to this is a question that Dedri, excuse me, asked in the chat about, should the programs be theoretical or operational? And the answer is both. While, we're prioritizing practical applications, at the same time, if you're a researcher and you need access to practitioners and communities, and this could be a way for you to do that, that's certainly something worth proposing as well. So the next to have their hand up was Juan Neural. And if I said that incorrectly, please correct me.
Hi, I'm Juan. You're okay. I'm currently a Doctor of Public Health student at UC Berkeley, so I'm on F1 visa, but I'm originally in Brunei and I intend to return to Brunei to practice this. So my question here, I'm planning to use the 6 months to co-design and test a pilot intervention for those who are based in Southeast Asia and speak Malay language, because I feel like it's very underrepresented in any public health papers or anywhere else. So I was wondering, is this the right opportunity for me, given my situation?
I'll just jump in to say, I find that fascinating. And I love the fact that you'd be piloting intervention and evaluating. I feel like that ticks many, many boxes. In terms of visas, I mean, I think some of you will have very particular, if you're already on a visa, it might be that we could extend that visa rather than getting you a new visa. So again, for some of those questions, I think it'd be on a case-by-case basis, but I can't, in terms of what you're interested in studying, I think it sounds really, really interesting.
Okay, thank you. I guess because Ruth is here from OISS of Brown, so I think, does that mean I would need to, I mean, my F1 visa is going to expire like probably 3-4 years from now, so I have time. But does that mean I have to apply for CPT? Is that?
I mean, again, we're not, sorry, I don't know. Did you want to answer that, Ruth?
No, I don't have the answer. I actually don't work for OISS.
Okay.
I have the links, so I have connections there. But I think maybe this is something we can talk about offline. Maybe Claire, is that what you were going to suggest?
Yeah.
So
I would just say any of you working if you're on a kind of a visa connected to a university, in many ways, this won't be a challenge to that. We'll be able to kind of take over for 6 months. But again, we need specific advice for all of you, but I don't think it would be a problem.
Okay, thank you so much.
And then Deanna.
Hi, thank you. First, I want to commend you on the design of this program. I've looked into so many fellowships, and it just feels like you have all the components that really are going to help people get an initiative off the ground, including funding of the thought partner. I just thought that was really inspiring. So thank you for that. My question is similar to what Ruby put in the chat. I know this is out of the School of Public Health, and you've mentioned other functional areas or cause areas, but I just wanted to make sure that you don't require that there be some direct and demonstrated application in the field of health.
No, I mean, we are based in a School of Public Health, and of course that's something that we are concerned about. But as we said, I'm in almost any area where misinformation is a problem, it also touches on public health. So if you were to learn something, for example, I just was involved in research around Ukraine and disinformation in Ukraine. Even though that's obviously a horrific invasion happening right now, it's still lots of the patterns and lessons apply in terms of the problems we're having with anti-vaxxers. So the reason that we're at a School of Public Health, but very much with an eye to being multidisciplinary and being able to connect the dots between a number of different themes and areas. So I don't think it will be a challenge, whatever you apply, as long as it's about information. That's the core thing.
Okay, great, and totally agree. Another thing, 2 other quick things. You had mentioned at least 5 to 10 years work experience. I just wanted to confirm that that's at least 5 to 10 years of work experience. In other words, you're open to later in career folks too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want people to get caught up on that. We are open to people who have fewer years experience, and we're definitely open to people who have more experience. We were trying to get a sense of, this isn't really, it would be great if somebody's just finished a PhD or master's, but at the same time, I think we were trying to get practitioners who have an ability or have spent time in an organization and understand some of those blockers, have a sense of what really might scale and work based on the realities of being in this space for a while.
Great, I appreciate that. And I was commenting more on the fact that a lot of fellowships are more directed at people who are earlier in career, and they're less that around for those who are later, entrepreneurs who are later in career or reimagining their career. So I appreciate that. And then a quick question on I love the first draft videos on your site. I have a workshop series and I use them and reference them. So I'm just wondering, are those going to go away, or will they be rebranded, or will they stick around?
Oh my goodness, what a great question, because Roger McDonald is on the call from the Internet Archive. And the Internet Archive have been absolute saviors, and they are going to help us archive the entire site to ensure that all the URLs stay as they are and that people will be able to access our material. So we are deeply grateful to the Internet Archive. And it means that, because it's lovely to hear you use them, but we hear from many, many people around the world that they use our material. So we're happy that we don't have to like shut down the site. So they will still exist with the same URLs.
Great. Thank you so much.
So there was a question earlier in the chat. Let me go back and find it.
I can,
Okay,
there were 2 questions actually that I saw.
Yeah.
Someone asked if you would consider region-specific fellows.
Oh, right. And I'm curious if you can explain more of what you mean by that.
I believe it was
More like Krishnan, again, if correct.
Yeah, actually, India is multiple languages, having a variety of languages, so if you are having a project in English, we can convert it into local languages, whatever the things region-wise, because India is a broad language. Ruby is from India, as well as me, I'm also from India. If 2 fellows are selected from then that will be the area is also considered, right? The vast area will be whether the 2 fellows will be selected from the same region. That was my question.
So let me repeat the question to make sure we understand it. So if the fellow is working within a community or working with a community in a specific part of the world, does the fellow need to be from that community? Is that the question?
No. If two fellows are applying from a region called India, India is a country. Ruby is from Delhi. I'm from Chennai. That is India is a large area. Large content. Whether you select by region wise, one fellow from India only, or you select multiple fellows from the
I
same
see.
region.
Can there be multiple fellows from a
Yeah.
certain part of the world? I don't think that there's a limit. I don't think we would limit that. We're looking more for ability to make impact.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you and your colleague are both applying, I wouldn't say that you're necessarily competing for a single slot in India.
That's also my question. Because if we have different ideas, we can have two fellowships from the region. Region should not be a constraint. That was my
Excellent question. Thank you.
Dren
Tanya,
has
There's
also
also a
asked
question about, will there be more application rounds in the future? Yes, the idea is that this will be, we will have this as a continuous 2 sets of fellows each year. So the beautiful chart that Samantha showed, we will then repeat for the fall and then spring 2024, et cetera, et cetera. So if you are not successful this time, there will be other rounds where you could apply.
I'll add to that too, that we expect that there will be many, many thoughtful, amazing projects that are worthy of this kind of space for sure. And so if for some reason you present a project and it's not right for this time around, like we sincerely hope that you consider repurposing it or even having a chat with us about the project itself.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, can you see me well?
Yes.
Hey, so I think I may have the answer to my question, but I was just wanted to clarify. So I have this intervention that I really want to develop and be more practical and technical with. Is it possible to do multiple things in tandem within this fellowship? Like meaning like maybe you're researching the population where the data, the misinformation is occurring or could happen, or like maybe the use case or like the environment, let's say the home care setting.
Yeah, I mean, we're just interested in, I'm trying to say, I think on a case by case basis, this is a thing that I've learned previously. Everybody needs strong supervision, and that's not to make sure that you get things done. It's to make sure in often case that you don't try and do too much. So if, for example, you were successful, we would sit down with you and say, okay, over the next 6 months, let's think about the weeks that you have, the phases that you want to do, and what's possible in the time. So again, we're never going to be like, no, we're not going to let you do that. We're just going to make sure that we're not going to set you up to fail. So we want to make sure that what you're proposing is very doable. So yes, I think that's the only caveat I would put in place.
Just to follow up, I guess, to that being doable. So in essence, would the 5 of the people that are looking into the application be like the mentors that are looking into like, oh, this is going to be feasible?
Yeah, exactly. And that, I mean, I think just to talk a little bit more about the thought partners for all of you, you'll have supervisors based in the IFL, but we will often also be looking for a thought partner for you. So if you don't have one in mind, but you might say, you know what, I'd love somebody who has quite a lot of experience in building community-based civic tech or whatever, and we'd go and help find you somebody that would become that thought partner or a community-based organization. So we think of thought partners maybe as an academic. You might say, I really want to work deeply with a political psychologist because I have a lot of experience in the field, but I don't have a lot of theoretical backup to what I'm saying. Can you find me a thought partner? So they might be an academic in another university or at Brown University, or you might say, I feel like I'm okay with the theory, but I really want a thought partner who is somebody in the field who can tell me whether this is just never going to work in the field. Not because it's not a good idea, but just there's too many roadblocks and it's just not going to work. So that's why we put the thought partner in, because we think it's critical that any fellow has the support to try and make this a success. So in your experience, it might be that you want somebody in the field that we could connect you with.
Thank you.
Tanya, have we missed any questions in the chat that you can tell?
Dren had a question about if it would be possible to combine in-person and remote work, but I think the presentation also answered that.
Yeah, so again, the financial support that we provide is fairly static, as I explained it earlier. So it's up to you if you want to move to Providence and, be part of different communities at Brown. It's a great idea. It's a lovely place and people there are amazing. But the fellowship doesn't require it, certainly. And most of the activities that you'll participate in as a fellow will be virtual. Also, it's very much worth noting that we can't provide you a place to work at the School of Public Health. So you'd be hanging out a lot at the library, for example, which is also a lovely place to be.
Actually, Ruby asked one question, and does it broadly have to be connected to health only?
Connected to what?
Health only. Whether the project proposal should broadly connected to health only, or we can do something else regarding fact check and all.
To information, you mean?
Yeah, information.
I would say yes. And I would also say that fact checking is very much part of creating a healthier information space. So those two things are very much connected.
So every project must be linked to health only.
Oh,
Am I
health.
correct?
No,
Yeah.
it does. No, it very much could connect with health, and health is one area where information is getting a little bit crazy right now. But we also consider information environments to be a health issue more broadly. So regardless of the topic of the information, it very much affects health in different ways. So it doesn't have to be directly tied to health or medicine. Andreas.
Yes, I had the question about our thought partners and whether we theoretically also could choose more than one, because in my case, I have been doing stuff on a transatlantic level, and I'm based in Sweden. I was at Berkeley this spring, and I'm looking to create a transatlantic initiative about disinformation and misinformation, and have potential partners for that in my head. So would the thought partner part of the project also allow to organize a symposium or stuff like that, where more than one partner can be involved? Since if we already are more than two who are thinking about bringing knowledge together and how to disseminate it.
Yeah, I'll just answer that to say, yeah, we would love any mechanisms that you create to spread and disseminate your ideas, or to bring people to co-create ideas, or to, focus groups you might design. When we talk about thought partners, it's a term that we're using for maybe somebody who you have a weekly supervisory meeting with, or somebody who you are using data from their organization to help with your research. So the way we think about thought partners is the kind of person that is then really systematically helping you, and we want there to be funding to support and acknowledge the labor that they're contributing. But thought partners more generally, yeah, you can have as many of those as you want, and that will be great. We just can't pay $5,000 to
no, that was not what I meant. I meant if under these $5,000 that are allocated for that activity, one could think of a symposium of thought partners. But for youth, a thought partner is engaged on a more regular basis, as I understand that.
Yes.
It's always a coach or a mentor or someone you regularly exchange ideas with, and so on. All right.
That's correct.
And then the other budget category would include these things, maybe. So
exactly.
Yes,
exactly. If you said it would really help me to have a group of 15 people together, then you might say, I'd like to put that 10,000 towards that.
Yeah, exactly. Great. Okay, wonderful. Then I understand. Thank you.
Any other questions that we can help with for now? Deidre, yes.
Yeah, so what you just answered was like the 10,000 could go to get like a good solid group of people who can theoretically kind of like inform that program you're trying to build on, right?
Yeah, the 10,000 is for project costs. So
the project costs, right? Okay.
Yeah, and so if you made the case that you felt like bringing people together was part of the research, then we would absolutely support that.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
And to quickly answer Vicky's question, is a big yes. That to me is I could see that being something that we could absolutely develop and then test and evaluate and scale. So I think it would be very exciting around curriculum development. Yes, Vicky, I love this so much. And I think, Adrienne, you're going to get your answer on the next slide, which maybe we want to go to, Samantha.
Yes, that's such a great segue. And also, Vicky, I am in love with your ideas. So I'm really looking forward to hearing more from you. Yes, so for more information from here, there's a couple of different ways you can go about it. So of course, we have a whole page of information, everything that we covered today, and then a little bit more on our website. You can always email me, and I'm happy to either answer your question or get you to Claire or Stephanie or Ruth or whoever is the right person to answer the question for you. And in addition to this, Claire has been very, very kind to host 2 different days of office hours. So if you'd like to make an appointment to discuss a question or a project idea more in depth with Claire, you can follow this bit.ly link. It is case sensitive. So as you copy it down, make sure you get the cases exactly as they appear here. But you can sign up through Calendly to have a short slot to talk about your project ideas with Claire. If I would say, and Claire, correct me if I'm wrong, this should really be for project ideas or partnership ideas and things like that. Logistical things, all those kinds of things, you can email to me and I'm happy to help get those kinds of things answered or connect you to the right people. But if you really want to ideate or chew on something, Claire's your gal.
That is a correct answer.
Great. Well, we did this in 1 hour exactly. And I just want to thank everyone for being here. I know you're all incredibly busy and an hour is a lot to give, and we really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much. And you've helped us, I think, on a number of things. Recognize that we've got some questions that we still need to answer. And this is the first time we're doing it. And you don't know what you don't know until you realize you don't know it. So thank you very much for pushing us. And yeah, we really would love to hear from all of you. And I would stress, I'd love to hear from you in office hours. If there's any part of you that's thinking, I've got this idea, but I'm not sure if it's clever enough or useful enough, I'd love to talk to you about it, because a big part of fellowships is doing some of this work ahead of time so that if you are successful, you can hit the ground running and do amazing work. So, and it would be a joy to spend 2 days talking about ideas. So yes, please sign up if you have any interest in applying.
So I'll send an email out to all of you this afternoon or tomorrow with the recording to today's session and the slides and any other helpful information. And yeah, we hope to hear from you.
Have a lovely afternoon or evening, and good night's sleep in India and the Philippines. Bye, everyone.